Life can be tough sometimes. It can chew you up and spit you back out. Through thick and thin, the one thing that you can always rely upon is the company that you keep. The friends that you made along the way. But what happens when your friends, and by extension your very world, are in danger? Well, Deadpool and Wolverine is a film about that highly specific situation. Howdy folks, I'm Meet the Name, and today I bring you a review on the recently released Marvel Studios film, Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, Deadpool and Wolverine is a 2024 superhero action comedy that was produced by Marvel Studios, Maximum Effort, and 21 Laps Entertainment. It was distributed by Walt Disney Studios and holds the title for being the first R-rated MCU film. The writing for the film was handled by Ryan Reynolds, Rhett Reese, Paul Wernick, Zeb Wells, and Sean Levy, with the aforementioned Sean Levy having also directed the film. Moving on from all those fun little details, just what the heck is the story all about in this film? Well, in an attempt to reduce spoilers, I'll just say verbatim what my local theater's description said. A listless Wade Wilson toils away in civilian life with his days as the morally flexible mercenary Deadpool behind him. But when his homeworld faces an existential threat, Wade must reluctantly suit up again with an even more reluctant Wolverine. As you can tell, this story has much higher stakes than the previous two Deadpool films, with an entire universe being at risk. But how well does the Merc with a Mouth's new adventure work in terms of writing? As expected from a Deadpool film, the story is pretty bare bones, going from point A to point B, and having very few twists and turns in how the overall narrative operates. You're paying $9, at least that's how much I pay for the theater that I went to watch Deadpool goof around with Wolverine for 2 hours. Don't expect anything much grander than that. The film isn't going to win any awards for storytelling, but it does have some decently executed emotional moments that will help endear you towards its characters. Heck, even cameo characters end up becoming fully fleshed out secondary characters. They don't have much depth, but they certainly do get to do much more than just show up and say hi. But I'll talk more about characters a bit later. One more thing, I would say that you don't really need to see any prior MCU films or shows to really understand the movie. It does enough to explain what's going on and show you the significance of what's involved in the story. But people who did finish Loki will definitely appreciate some of the callbacks to the show. If anything, folks will probably feel lost with references towards old Fox films. There's a lot of cameos in this film from those, so if you need to do your homework, I'd say check some of them out. I can't tell you which ones to see, but know that doing your homework will feel rewarding. So yeah, story is standard with some good emotional beats and character moments, and is relatively self-contained. But what about the main draw, the comedy? Well, I can safely say that the Disney acquisition did not impede the humor of this film. If anything, it feels almost raunchier at times than the other films in the franchise. And there's also a significant uptick in dark humor as well that will be sure to shock audiences and instill fits of laughter. But also know that a lot of the humor is referential. If you paid attention to the past of Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, there will be plenty of jokes at their expense, along with jokes based on the lives of other actors in the film. There are definitely a lot of jokes I didn't recognize because of how highly specific they are. Now with the comedy touched upon, what about the action? I would say that this film has some amazing action scenes in it. The inevitable fights between Wolverine and Deadpool themselves are personal highlights for me. Although during some scenes, things do get really busy, and it gets difficult to keep track of everything that's going on. Basically, there's a lot of visual clutter with just how many people can be seen fighting at once. But overall, the fights are choreographed well. Definitely more dynamic feeling than most Marvel films. Probably helps that the two protagonists of the film can be stabbed and shot repeatedly and keep going. That definitely does solve a few issues. Speaking of the two protagonists, let's talk characters. Ryan Reynolds returns as Deadpool, and he's just as charismatic and insane in the role as ever. If you've seen the other films, you'll be used to how his character is mostly portrayed, although there is more of an emotional undercurrent to him this time around that I think audiences will definitely appreciate. But be warned that he is written to be intentionally annoying, and even as a fan of the character, I started to feel some slight annoyance with his antics. But he isn't nearly as bad as, say, something like Claptrap from the Borderlands games. And then we have Hugh Jackman returning. I guess retirement can't stop him from collecting another massive paycheck. But seriously, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine makes for a fantastic straight man to Deadpool's antics. Hugh is much more vicious and angry in this film, and because of this, he also makes for a great foil as well. It's a good buddy cop dynamic that the two have going on. And as a fan of buddy cop films, I was positively thrilled. Hugh also hits some really great emotional beats. The man is just a fantastic actor all around, and really stole the show for me. But that isn't to say that other characters weren't good as well. I just don't want to talk about them too much in case of spoilers. But know that, as mentioned earlier, some cameos are more than just that. Some are fully fledged characters that get their own time to shine, and it is really great to see some of those actors return in these roles. What really helps with establishing these characters are the costumes that were used in the film. It feels great to see Hugh don the yellow and blue suit, and Deadpool's reds are as vibrant as ever. There are also some surprise designs that I can't give away, but again, just know that a lot of love was probably put into them. Now, what could have used some more love were the sets. There are some really great ones, but for the most part, you'll just be treated to open fields littered with occasional props for folks to point and recognize. To be fair, this was established already by the Loki TV show, but I still would have liked something a bit more enclosed. More buildings and interiors. But at least the actors had plenty of space to move around and fight in. Moving on, the effects in this film range from decent to good. There's obviously some CGI used for a few fight scenes because Hugh is in his mid-50s and can't move like he used to 24 years ago. But for the most part, I would say that it isn't too distracting so long as you suspend your disbelief. Although there is one shot in particular towards the end that really could have used more time in the oven. It's like you could tell when the budget ran out. But hey, maybe Disney will patch the film at some point and improve it. That's a thing the mouse does now, right? Finally, I want to touch upon the score for this film. The original soundtrack for the film was composed by Rob Simonson, and I would say that it is decent. There's a lot of orchestral and choir bits mixed in, but also some really hard beats that sound like they came from a rap song. It isn't the most memorable, but it helps serve the purpose of setting up some scenes. And then you have the licensed music. I will say that for as much fun as licensed music can be, it also got a bit overwhelming at times. Like I was trying to focus on the scene itself, but got too distracted by what my ears were experiencing. Now, not every scene with licensed music was like this, but it definitely happened enough to me for it to become a bit of a problem. Maybe when I see the film again, I'll change my opinion on this, but for right now, that's just sort of how I feel on it. So, overall, would I recommend Deadpool and Wolverine? And my answer would be, it depends. I personally had a lot of fun with the film, and despite my nitpicks, I would see it again. But the film also feels almost inaccessible sometimes to a general audience with all of its references and guest stars. I can definitely see why some folks are polarized on it. If you want to see the film because of the impact it'll have on the MCU, I'll just tell you now that it doesn't really have much of an impact at all. Now, if you want to see the film because you are a fan of the other two Deadpool films and their humor, this is definitely the best of the trilogy. So see this film if you love specifically what Deadpool can provide, which is 2 hours of crass jokes and bloody action. It isn't a particularly intelligent film, but then again, it doesn't need to be, because it has a heart. It has sincerity, and it has a dog in it that's so ugly it wraps back around to being cute. With all that said, in the immortal words of Deadpool, let's fucking go. Howdy folks. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Every bit of interaction helps. And if you have any other film, show, or game recommendations, please let me know down below. With all that said, I hope you all have a wonderful day.